Hello everyone, Steve Tober, Sideline Chatter Spotlight, the 66th Essex County Boys Basketball Tournament in full swing, and we're going to talk a little bit about the history, the format, some of the nuances of one of the great basketball extravaganzas in all of the New Jersey high schools. And joining me to discuss the ECT is none other than co-director of the tournament for many years, Jack Venezia. And Jack, we're excited, the tournament going on right now. Let's begin first talking about the great history. Right? Just talking recently with Danny Grasso, the great coach at Montclair Immaculate, who coached at Belleville with Abdel Anderson. The 1975 final, I know you weren't in the building, but packed house at Walsh Gymnasium, Essex Catholic, Brother McNamara's team, Cliff Anderson, Ron Cowan, Keith Bowman, so many players, East Orange under Bobby Lester, Cleveland Eugene, Mike Booker. But the big thing was the crowd that came to that game that night, that day. Of course, the noon tip-off, and just something you'll never forget. But the atmosphere at Walsh back in the heyday was really something.
Oh, you couldn't beat it. I remember when I was a kid, you know, in eighth, ninth grade, and we had a group of guys from. I grew up in Montclair, and we took a bus, and then we walked over to Walsh Auditorium, and you'd have to stand in line. I remember a couple of years we were seated on the stage. We couldn't get a seat up in the balcony or down, certainly not down below. And you know, to have those opportunities when I was a kid, and of course that that has enabled me to to follow through in the position I'm in, and to really see the history of the tournament, particularly the last 23 years that I've been involved as a director or co-director. But getting back to the Essex Catholic game in '75 with East Orange, I actually listened to the entire broadcast on the radio. I wasn't able to attend, and I mean, everything that the announcers at the time had said, and of course the final score. I will tell you, being an Essex Catholic grad, my heart. Certainly, feelings were with the Eagles, but it was that was a classic. That was a classic.
An absolute classic.
Yeah.
90-85, amazing score. They were in the 50s at halftime.
Yeah.
But this is one of those games. And some of the great players, Lonnie Wright, Drayton Bembry, Ron Cornegay, guys you probably saw.
I did, and I can tell you, I didn't see Lonnie Wright in the Essex County tournament in 1961. But I started out as a ball boy for Montclair Immaculate, and Mr. Garvey was kind enough to invite me to work with the team. And in 62, we had gone Immaculate. That is, we played against St. Rose of Belmar, and they were led by Bob Verga. Immaculate lost, I believe it was 62-60. In overtime, and then following that, I met Lonnie Wright, and I was walking through the, with the team out, and I went up to him. I said, "Mr. Wright, I wish you well." He was the greatest, I think, the greatest athlete in the history of New Jersey, and I say that because he was a professional football player with the Broncos, and then with the Nuggets, professional basketball player. And I heard he was a heck of a baseball player. But in any case, Lonnie Wright is perhaps my all-time favorite. Even though I was a little guy, I realized how neat he was. And I used to read about Drayton Bembry over at Central. Certainly Cornegay was after. And I remember the great teams at East Orange under Frank Milner. And of course, we had Booker, Baker, and Street over at then South Side. It's amazing, when you think back, and just the memories that I've had, and just the number of quality games that I had the fortunate opportunity to see. And I can never forget. And Mike Kinney might disagree with me with this, but Mo Layton would certainly support me. I run into Dennis Mo, quite a bit now. He's a good referee now.
Yeah.
And we talk about the '66 Weequahic team. I never saw any team that was better.
Dana Lewis.
They had, well, they had Dana Lewis, they had Watson and Cobb. I mean, there's just a huge front. Maynard came over from, it might even been from New York City.
No, I think it was Jersey City. Dana Lewis.
And then they had Mo, and they had a guy who was on the bench named Phil Hickson, who in '67 was the Newark Player of the Year. And you know, you didn't come out of Newark being the Player of the Year without having some ability. They were tremendous.
And you talk
Best
about,
team I ever saw.
You mentioned Joe Garvey, who was my coach at West Essex, but Immaculate had many great coaches. Finn Tracy passed through there. Even Dick Tarrant, who went on to fame at Richmond, beating Syracuse in the NCAA tournament, had a cup of coffee coaching at Montclair Immaculate among some of the great coaches. Richie Fauché, who's had a long coaching career.
Coach Fauché is a great guy.
Irvington
My younger brother was fortunate enough to play with him and get started as a basketball aficionado, so to speak, down at Immaculate.
Les Spine at Weequahic, Matty Lombardi, Central.
And at West Orange. Then we went up to West Orange.
So many great coaches. Of course, Finn Tracy, I remember him holding court back when I was a young guy, a young reporter, when toward the end of his life, when they used to play at Bloomfield, some of the quarterfinals, and it would just be a great crowd of some writers and some coaches, and they get together at a local eatery, and right there on Broad Street, and it was just a tremendous
I believe that was the Newark Evening News that used to actually sponsor the team
Harry
in
Robinson,
those days.
I think, was, a fellow from Montclair used to do the stats for the Knicks games on radio. They'd be going so much minutia, wonderful stuff. I just hope the young players and young coaches can appreciate it. At least there's so much to it. It's changed, though, today. In a sense, you have the Super Essex Conference now, 3 years old. So some people would say in some ways it can be like almost an in-season conference tournament, but it isn't, because you have some of the smaller schools that don't get a chance, smaller divisions with the 4 divisions, that won't see the A division, the American division during the season. So there is some drama certainly until the tournament.
And what I like about it, and I want to commend the Essex County athletic directors, for really having a vision to get the preliminary round, the play-in brackets, if you will, off the ground. We initiated that in baseball. And, it just creates for much better matchups. For example, last year we had 32 teams in the tournament. This year we have 33. But in a 32 team tournament, Team 32 would have to go up against the #1 seed. And you're just not going to have games that are competitive. And so on. The 2 seed would play the 31, and there were so many mismatches. Now, and we saw this in a couple of our open round games where Milburn had a 1-point win
over North Academy,
overtime, and that was in overtime. And just the other day, you had MKA and Weequahic, 63-62.
Great game.
I mean, that's great stuff. And some of the teams that may not, have historically entered, now they're coming in because they realize they can get, a couple games and be competitive. And that's very, very gratifying to see. Look, Verona's won 2 of their games. They upset Livingston, the other day.
The 13th.
So now, and they're going on to play Columbia on Saturday.
Well, you're talking about Verona, and for some years, the Hillbillies decided not to go in the tournament. That's a decision they made. They've been back in, and they have to be encouraged. I know they're populous. They have a nice fan following. A nice guard is a terrific small college prospect, and Brian Farrell. Great young coach, Eric McElroy. And adds a little spice, and it's like a little mini tournament before the round of 16, which adds a lot of fun to the whole setup, regardless if they don't get past maybe the round of 16, but still maybe one will. But they've had a couple of wins maybe under their belts if they're fortunate as a sleeper. And some year maybe you'll get a team that go into the quarters, like MKA last year as a 10 seed.
And you and I were both there.
One of the great games.
Oh, that was tremendous.
Against Columbia, overtime classic and double overtime classic.
It was double overtime.
Double overtime and just and great. That had a feel of the gym site. I know that the quarterfinals the last few years have been at the home gym, which I mean, we kind of like it when it was a neutral site, and we optimally like it, but the athletic director decided to have it a home court. But that was one instance where the home court, the high school home court, was quite an exciting.
It was. It was a packed house, and both the Columbia fans and the MKA fans, they were into it. Cougars versus the Cougars, but they went at it. That was an excellent, great game.
John Snow, who was a star for MKA, had walked on at Seton Hall University, made the team with Kevin Willard's Pirates this year as a walk-on for a D1 level, which is interesting. John Caprio, a past star from Seton Hall Prep, had walked on at Georgetown a couple of years ago. He doesn't play much, but he's on the bench, and I believe under scholarship now at Georgetown with John Thompson.
And Johnny's you mentioned him. He's an interesting story. He was one of my students when I was my last years as a principal at
North Caldwell.
At North Caldwell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, because you had a long career at Gould School there. But the play-in bracket, Bruce Essing, we should give your co-director, does a fabulous job with the brackets, and Bruce is very efficient, and you guys are on top of that, which helps us in the media, but also for the coaches and keeping up with the tournament times. And the semifinals back at West Orange, which has been a great site the last few years for the semis. And West Orange gives you a little bit of an arena feel to it.
It certainly does, and we've had some good crowds. We're hoping that this year our crowds are even better, and it's a wonderful facility. The parking is fine, and you couldn't ask for a better site in terms of drawing from all areas in Essex County, because it is. Quite centrally located.
It's not far from 280 if you want to come up from the city or come down from the suburbs of Pleasant Valley Way. And come on February 18th, there'll be an afternoon doubleheader. We'll see. You wait and see what the girls' teams are in terms of coordinating. So you don't, for instance, like a Shabazz, if they want to see the boys and the girls, you have a chance maybe to stagger them if you can.
Right. That's how we set up the the tournament times at both North Tech, where the girls have their semifinals, and at West Orange, where the boys have theirs. And as you said, if you get a matchup like where it involves Shabazz boys and the Shabazz girls, we try to stagger the times. I work along with Gary Taylor, who's now the director of the girls tournament, assisted by Jim Stokel, and Bruce and we coordinate with them. So that this way we can set it up so that the girls and the guys, if it comes down to that, they're not playing at concurrent times.
And the Essex County Tournament final has been at Essex County College in Newark for many years now. I think it was 1986.
Well, I think you're right now.
Ala Abdelnaby's senior year, because they had upset Montclair, who went on to the state finals that year, in the quarterfinals in the 1-8 matchup. They played East Orange. East Orange beat them that year. But that was the first year they left
I believe you're right. I know. I've been involved since '89.
Yeah.
So, and it was a few years before that.
And yes, I know Mel Knight and company down there have been helpful for you through the years.
Absolutely. Mel is a great guy, and I've been working with the director of auxiliary services, Charlotte Attenborough. We've become friends, and it's for the 22 years, now this is my 23rd. I've been involved. She started then. And she's been very instrumental in helping us, procure the site at a very, very fair rate, and they're wonderful to us down there.
And we should tell the folks there's plenty of parking down at Essex County College in different areas.
Yes, well they have a parking garage now that makes it very, very simple. And right off of Market Street, and then the gym is right next door.
Not far from the courthouse buildings, and you know the area. If you've ever been called on jury duty, it's just not far from there at the Essex County College. But also February 25th, and it's a boy-girl doubleheader with a split.
That's correct.
There's a time in
between. There is a split in time so that we can allow for, we start, we have the first game. So that if some people aren't interested in staying for the girls, or if they were interested in staying for the girls, they do have to leave so that we can make sure that there are enough seats for our patrons, because we had that a couple years ago, and that's why we initiated that change.
Yeah, you have to do that because